Will Australia's first new city in 100 years actually solve the housing crisis, or is it a billion-dollar gamble? Right now, Sydney's median house price is pushing $1.7 million, rents are tightening, and supply keeps falling short. So the government is building an entirely new city, called Bradfield, right next to Sydney's brand new international airport. In this video, we're breaking down the master plan, the high-tech Superlot one, and the critical reasons why this project might fail like other megacities before it. Stay until the end to see the final verdict on whether Bradfield will actually save the Australian dream. The housing crisis isn't theoretical, the numbers are stark. New South Wales official projections show the population rising from about 8.1 million in 2021 to 10.07 million by 2041. That is nearly 2 million more people in just 2 decades. Greater Sydney alone is expected to jump from 4.9 million to 6.3 million, an increase of about 28%. Net overseas migration is doing most of the work here. Think about what that means. More people drive massive demand for homes, land, infrastructure, transport, schools, you name it. But supply isn't keeping up, and that's where the real pressure hits. In 2024, about 177,000 homes were completed, while underlying demand sat at 223,000. That shortfall of 46,000 homes in a single year adds up fast. Over the full Housing Accord period, forecasts suggest 938,000 dwellings will be delivered against a national target of 1.2 million. That is 250,000 homes short of what the country needs, and people are feeling it directly. By late 2024, households were spending around half their income servicing a new mortgage. Renters weren't far behind, with roughly a third of income going to new leases. These are national figures, but Sydney is consistently at the sharp end. Sydney's median house price reached about $1.76 million by December 2025, and this is not a one-year spike. Look at the pattern. Around 1.6 million in 2021, a dip in 2022 to about 1.41 million, then back up. 1.59 million in 2023, 1.64 million in 2024, and now that record high in 2025. That shows how entrenched this problem really is, a long-standing affordability crisis. Rental conditions tell a similar story. Sydney's vacancy rate in early 2026 sat around 1.5%. Anything near or below 2% usually means tight conditions. So what do governments do? They set targets. New South Wales has committed to delivering 377,000 new homes over 5 years by July 2029 under the National Housing Accord. But targets alone don't determine where growth happens. Bradfield sits inside the wider Western Sydney aerotropolis, which is described as the beating heart of the Western Parkland city. It is positioned as a third major pole alongside established Sydney centres. This is deliberate. It links housing to new employment land, new institutions and direct airport connectivity. And why build it now? Well, because timing matters. The new Western Sydney International Airport is opening. Infrastructure corridors are being set. Land use decisions made today will shape the region for decades. Internationally, big planned cities often launch during moments of transition. When infrastructure is coming online, when growth expectations are high, when governments want a visible response to housing and congestion. But what exactly are they building? Bradfield is not just an empty field with a few towers drawn on a brochure. The master plan has been developed by Skidmore, Owings and Merrill, known globally as SOM, together with Australian studio Hassel. Mind you, this is international scale urban planning. Let's look at the numbers. The site spans 114 hectares in Western Sydney, right beside the new Western Sydney International Airport, about 50 kilometres from the Sydney CBD. You can see, this city is being positioned as Sydney's new urban heart, not just another outer suburb. Currently, around 10,000 homes are planned, but this is not meant to look like endless suburban housing. The design calls for a dense, high-rise, mixed-use city centre. The master plan allocates 2 million square metres of gross floor area with space for over 80 high-rise buildings. Nearly a third of the entire site is designated as public open space, 36 hectares in total. A 2-hectare central park will anchor the centre, a 2.2-kilometre green loop will run through the city. And yes, that green loop is not just landscaping. It is framed as a cultural spine that prioritises First Nations presence and identity across the city. This is important. Bradfield's design language repeatedly talks about designing with country. That means Indigenous perspectives are meant to be embedded from the start, not added later. Structured engagement mechanisms are already described, including a Koori perspective circle focused on themes like climate resilience, tourism, cultural expression, and economic participation. There is even a partnership agreement with the Gandangara local Aboriginal Land Council. They are going to collaborate around heritage, training pathways, and potential cultural initiatives. Let's zoom in on the first major development stage, Superlot 1. Superlot 1 covers 5.7 hectares and is described as the civic heart. It is the proof of concept precinct. The first 1,400 homes will rise here, and at least 10% are required to be affordable housing. That affordability threshold is written into the plan, but housing is only one piece. Superlot 1 will also include a university campus, commercial offices, advanced industry spaces, retail areas, a hotel, and structured public space. This is designed to feel active from day one. The buildings are imagined as high-rise forms along tree-lined streets, with green areas woven between them. And then there is the pavilion, a timber community pavilion designed as a public gathering space, using low-carbon materials. The design is said to draw on the idea of taking only what is needed: passive design features, green roofs, and solar panels across infrastructure. The wider city centre is built around transport. It sits within 400 metres of the metro station on the Sydney Metro Airport line, and that proximity was deliberate. By 2031, nearly 28,000 direct and indirect jobs are projected to be linked to the airport's broader economic activity. This is why Bradfield's purpose goes beyond housing. The Development Authority connects it directly to airport economics. Target sectors include advanced manufacturing, logistics, aerospace, and defence industries. The Advanced Manufacturing Readiness Facility is already operating nearby and acting as an early industrial anchor. What about the money? Well, the project is backed by more than $1 billion in public investment through the recent NSW government plenary deal for Superlot 1 alone, with additional billions supporting the wider Aerotropolis infrastructure. And infrastructure is already underway. First stage civil works have been completed. 4 kilometres of new roads, 8 kilometres of active transport paths. Utilities installed, including water, wastewater, power, and fibre. 600 trees have been planted. 1/3 of the 114-hectare site is now serviced and ready for development. Stage 2 works will continue through 2026. Which brings us back to our first question. Will it solve the problem it is intended to solve? Will it work? Bradfield's success depends first on infrastructure sequencing. Infrastructure NSW has already mapped delivery across 3 key horizons: 2027, 2030, and 2040. That sequencing is important. Transport, water, utilities, and roads must land in the right order. If apartments rise before water capacity expands, or offices open before the metro is fully operational, confidence will drop. And confidence is everything in a planned city. Then there is the airport clock. Major construction wrapped up in June 2025. Testing and fit-out are complete or nearing finish. Passenger flights are confirmed to start in October 2026, with cargo earlier in July, making it a 24/7 operation. But the metro link is still under scrutiny, and this is where it gets serious. Bradfield's entire transport logic depends on that rail connection being ready. If the metro lags behind the airport launch, the city loses its most important competitive advantage before it has even opened its doors. And rail isn't the only pressure point. Western Sydney is notoriously car-dependent. The city's pulse will rely heavily on the new M12 motorway. This is a $2 billion toll-free link designed to carry over 50,000 vehicles a day. On paper, it's a game-changer for logistics and airport access. But there's a real-world risk here: induced demand. If the M12 simply invites more traffic into an already congested basin, Bradfield won't be the 30-minute city promised in the master plan. It'll just be another island in a sea of Western Sydney gridlock. Superlot 1 introduces another layer of risk. The first 1,400 homes are tied to a university partner and major commercial tenants. It's a smart move. Planned cities struggle when housing comes without jobs or offices rise without residents. But there is a risk here. Procurement steps begin in 2026. If a key tenant delays or pulls out, momentum will weaken. Agglomeration is fragile in the early years. Housing scale also needs perspective. Even the full city centre build-out barely dents Greater Sydney's projected 1.4 million additional residents by 2041. Impact is about location, not volume, and construction limits still apply, like labour shortages and productivity issues are national constraints. And there is another variable rarely discussed: political continuity. Projects spanning decades must survive elections, leadership changes, and shifting fiscal priorities. Without bipartisan commitment, even the strongest master plan can stall. Funding can tighten, priorities can shift, momentum can quietly fade. We also need to look at how complicated this project really is. The airport itself is marked as a high-priority project, and its expansion is planned in stages all the way into the 2050s and even the 2060s. That means this project will unfold over many years, with many moving parts along the way. And history tells us to be careful. Other planned cities like Songdo, which struggled with slower than expected population uptake, and Masdar City, which scaled back dramatically from its original zero-carbon ambitions, took far longer than expected to fully come alive. Even large airport-driven developments, like those linked to Dubai's aviation growth, showed how sensitive these projects are. The ultimate risk here isn't just a construction delay, it's the ghost city effect. If the high-tech jobs don't arrive on schedule, Bradfield risks becoming a multi-billion-dollar commuter wasteland rather than a thriving metropolis. As the dust settles on blueprints and the first foundations take root, Bradfield stands as both ambition and cautionary tale. On one hand, it is a bold reimagining. A dense, green, country-centred city rising beside a 24/7 airport, promising homes, jobs and a new heartbeat for Western Sydney amid a crisis that has priced too many out of the dream. On the other, history whispers warnings. Planned utopias often falter when timing slips, tenants hesitate or infrastructure lags. My view? The vision is genuinely inspiring and overdue. Bradfield could become a model for thoughtful, inclusive growth if the pieces align, but it will demand unwavering execution over decades, not just headlines. What do you think? Is Australia building its future or buying itself time? If you're drawn to stories about how the world gets built, the cities, the structures, the infrastructure that shapes how we live, there is a lot more where this came from on this channel. Every video goes deep on the projects that matter. Subscribe and don't miss what's coming next.